It is capable of crossing the Black Sea twice and carrying 5 tons of explosives. Ukrainian developers have unveiled the underwater drone Tloca 1000, which could pose a serious threat to the Crimean Bridge and Russian port infrastructure. There are 3 types of drones in the Tloca family. The developers emphasize that their inventions are not torpedoes but fully functional robotic platforms equipped with numerous sensors and artificial intelligence technology capable of independently carrying out a variety of combat missions at sea. Mikhailo Manelyuk will tell you more in detail.
Almost every night in Russia is spectacularly explosive. The security service of Ukraine, SBU, struck one of the largest oil refining and petrochemical plants, Gazprom Neftekhim Salavat in Bashkortostan, with deep strikes. It's almost 1,500 kilometers from there to Ukrainian territory. And so the Ukrainian Defense Forces attacked Novorossiysk. The base of the Black Sea Fleet was stormed not only by the usual aerial drones, but also by unmanned surface boats that appeared in the sea near the port.
Something truly and utterly got completely wrecked here, leaving behind a scene of significant devastation and destruction. Excellent. Thank God it's over there.
Ukraine has enough naval drones to attack Russia almost every day. They even plan to sell unmanned boats abroad. Such drones are used in various operations as they are capable of both destroying the enemy and conducting reconnaissance and demining waters. Ukrainian special services have long suggested striking specifically at the ports. For this purpose, they created the surface drone Kozak Mamey. However, the American allies were against it, but now, it seems, they have changed their minds.
It's moving, it's moving, it's moving, it's moving. So when are they going to blow it up? Why aren't they blowing it up?
Earlier at the beginning of the war, the enemy basically pushed us back to our own coastline, to a distance of about 10 to 15 kilometers. Now we've managed to drive them out of that zone, but we haven't taken full control over that area yet.
Ukraine has already forced the Russians to hide their fleet in ports farther away. But most likely, things won't be easy for them even there now. Domestic developers are expanding the front and will be able to control the sea even underwater. Recently, at the Brave One Defense Cluster exhibition in Lviv, a 12-meter Ukrainian underwater drone called Tloca was showcased, which is capable of striking at a distance of 2,000 kilometers.
Frankly speaking, that's a very long distance. I don't know whether we actually need that or not. Because 2,000 kilometers, just so you understand, is the distance from Odessa to Port Said. That's it. Well, maybe a drone like this with such serious power could destroy or seriously damage major hydraulic structures, ones that, support the enemy's operations.
The Tloca 1000 is equipped with both a diesel and an electric engine. The device is capable of diving to a depth of up to 1 kilometer and waiting there for up to 3 months for the command to destroy its target.
All the equipment, all the sensors, and all the onboard instruments are powered by electricity. 3 whole months means that once it has fully and completely charged its powerful batteries and then surfaced, it can subsequently submerge and patiently wait there until it absolutely needs to recharge its power again.
Experts are convinced that just a few of these drones are capable of destroying the Crimean Bridge, as they carry 5 tons of explosives, which is enough to effectively turn large targets into scrap.
Well, indeed, that substantial amount of explosives can certainly cause very serious and extensive damage to the bridge's structural supports, because merely hundreds of kilograms are quite unlikely to do anything truly significant. But tons can really get the job done.
In any case, there is no single weapon that could effectively and decisively strike the Crimean Bridge. Here, we need to talk about involving different systems and an operation that will be carried out in several stages. Undoubtedly, Tloca could be the main player.
The main player because ordinary sea drones are more vulnerable to enemy strikes than those that move underwater, experts explain. Near the shores of Crimea, Russia uses Grakonok or Raptor boats, which detect drones on the water's surface.
The main advantage of an underwater drone is its stealth. Because right now, the drones we use, the sea drones, move on the surface, and they can be detected by radar stations, the network of which is currently installed along the coast, including the Crimean Peninsula, first of all. Secondly, they can be detected from the air by various drones.
Experts add, Ukrainian underwater drones will strike at sea platforms in the Black Sea, which Russia uses to deploy radar stations and air defense systems. And also, Tloca will be able to hunt enemy submarines.
This is precisely where we truly need them. I think that, well, of course, finding and effectively neutralizing a submarine using drones will be significantly more cost-effective than building and then continuously maintaining a dedicated corvette for this crucial purpose. 1,000 times cheaper, in fact. And this is possible because our operational area is very compact. It's relatively small. That's it. Well, here it's important who will provide the targeting information. That's very important. Otherwise, this drone simply won't find its target.
Ukrainian engineers are preparing for the serial production of the Tloca 1000 and 2 other smaller underwater drones from this family, which will also be able to destroy Russian ships and boats in the Black Sea, as well as clear or lay mines on the seabed. The developers are placing great hopes on these underwater monsters. Perhaps this weapon will soon appear in the Ukrainian Navy.
You just have to understand that such a product is not final on the day it is produced, especially when it comes to some new weapon systems. Any such weapon system always goes through a stage of experimental operation.
Mikhailo Maneliuk, Valentin Bilik, Podrobici, Inter TV channel, United News Marathon.
To hear heartbeats from hundreds of kilometers away, to perform an ultrasound or to diagnose the eardrum. Due to the shortage of doctors at the front, telemedicine began to be developed. The first systems appeared at stabilization points. Military medics with broad expertise need more specialized military doctors to join the system. Such bringing specialists closer to the wounded through technology is already saving lives, reports TSN correspondent Irina Markieva, who will continue on this topic.
The road, still covered in mud, leads to a stabilization point in the northeastern direction of the front. There are only a few kilometers to the Russian border from here. Burned-out cars line the roadside, drones are flying overhead, and evacuating along these routes is dangerous. This team must provide assistance under any circumstances. The commander of the medical company of the 101st Territorial Defense Brigade, Mikhailo Hanali, is a trauma surgeon by profession, but he often needs quick consultations with colleagues so that they can see the injuries, wounds, and changes, something like a medical council.
Now I want to launch it.
Mr. Mikhailo is launching a diagnostic telemedicine complex that recently appeared at the stabilization point. It is simultaneously a 12-channel cardiograph, a portable ultrasound device, an electronic stethoscope, and a dermatoscope with a camera. All these indicators can be seen by his colleagues in real time. From this stabilization point, which is 10 kilometers from the front line, you can connect with any military specialist in Ukraine and get a decision on what to do next. 2 soldiers with concussions are brought to the stabilization point. Disorientation, nausea, loss of hearing.
Mr.
Mikhailo checks the injuries using a tascope. I have
superficial knowledge specifically from the perspective of ENT practice. There is some, but it's not complete. Accordingly, I take into account that I can connect with a specialist and we just show him the image and he can say, show me this, show me that.
Hundreds of kilometers away from the stabilization point, an otolaryngologist can see the image from the otoscope. Together, they determine the extent of damage to the eardrums. ENT specialist Talis Vitlishny says that this image is quite sufficient to make a preliminary diagnosis and help his colleague at the stabilization point start treatment.
You can insert the otoscope into an ear somewhere in Sumy region or in Donetsk and transmit the image to the ENT doctor. That's already a good thing. For acoustic trauma, it's important to start proper treatment within the first 24 hours. And indeed, modern telemedicine technology makes it entirely possible to effectively conduct these essential medical consultations and services remotely from virtually any location.
With a stethoscope at a distance, other specialists can listen to heart murmurs and arrhythmias, interpret cardiograms, or detect internal bleeding thanks to a portable ultrasound device.
We look, for example, to see if there is any damage to the spleen or accumulation of blood in the angle between the kidney and the spleen. We checked, and yes, thank God it's clear here. If we see free fluid here somewhere, it means the person has been injured and there is internal bleeding.
All these procedures can be performed not only by a doctor, but even by a paramedic under the remote supervision of a doctor. This makes it possible to decide on the urgency of evacuation. If there is no internal bleeding, you can safely wait for a relatively safe window or take the risk.
If we detect internal bleeding that requires a specialized operation, then the appropriate evacuation is called in and the necessary cover is used to suppress the activity of enemy drones. This includes anti-drone rifles, shotguns and similar means to ensure the urgent evacuation of the wounded personnel.
And there are quite a few situations like this where help is needed even in such a state. Thanks to these connections between frontline medics and military specialists at specialized medical facilities, Mr. Alexander's eyesight was saved.
I distinctly remember that they absolutely had to lead me by the hand, even when we were outside.
A person just went blind in an instant. His chief medical officer also contacted me in the same way. The diagnosis was made remotely.
After the concussion, he went blind and no one on site could figure out the cause. Ophthalmologist Oleksiy Syryk from the Chernihiv Military Hospital identified the problem remotely. Traumatic cataract in both eyes.
Essentially, due to the strong impact, the lens became clouded.
Thanks to the fact that the diagnosis was made remotely and quickly, Mr. Alexander was immediately evacuated to the hospital.
We operated on him. This morning he already shaved. A good result. The lens is in place. We inserted it into the capsule.
Now he's awaiting lens replacement in his left eye as well. But already today he is moving around without assistance and has picked up his phone. Telemedicine helps to establish a diagnosis more quickly, transport the patient to a facility where specialized care can be provided, and allows hospital doctors to prepare and set up the operating room, already having the diagnosis and preliminary findings.
I can explain in a proper manner how to prepare the eye so that we can safely and effectively ensure it can at a later time be operated on for the surgical procedure.
These telemedicine systems were first put to use by the 106th Territorial Defense Brigade. Currently, there are already 7 of them in its support points and medical companies.
First and foremost, it helps us address the shortage of qualified personnel. In places where there is no doctor but one is needed and it's impossible to bring one in right away, you can consult with a doctor in this way.
The system, made by a French manufacturer, cost almost 1 million hryvnias. It runs on mains power, and in autonomous mode it works for about 10 hours. All that's needed for the connection is any secure internet between the medics close to the front line and the highly qualified specialists. The first medical system was connected by doctors from the Chernihiv Military Hospital. This way you can consult remotely with ophthalmologists, dermatologists, ENT specialists, surgeons, traumatologists, anesthesiologists, and other highly qualified specialists who are so lacking in military medicine. For example, here a hospital dermatologist is consulting with soldiers at a deployment site.
It has slightly increased in overall size.
The soldiers admit it. A routine checkup would take a lot of time and they simply don't have the opportunity. Traveling to another region, sitting in line, waiting for an appointment.
At the very least, it saves 2 days going to the hospital, getting examined.
The dermatoscope with a camera transmits the image to the doctor's monitor. 3 of the soldiers are fine, but one has an atypical papilloma, so the dermatologist immediately referred him to an oncologist.
It's really focusing now. That was a much better shot indeed.
The telemedicine system on the front line is just beginning to be developed. Doctors are already using it. They say all the necessary equipment is available. The main thing is for other units to understand its importance and effectiveness. These systems have been adopted and the appropriate decisions have been made locally.
In the future, I really hope there will be certain groups of doctors who can be connected there. The consultant themselves doesn't need to have such a setup. It's enough to have a smartphone, tablet or computer. If our experience with its use is positive, it will be expanded. It will be possible to use it in both linear and vertical communication chains.
For medics on the front line, it's important that colleagues from both civilian and military medical centers join in. This is one way to address the shortage of doctors in the military and effectively save the lives of defenders. Irina Markovic, Alexander Shayan, TSN 1, Clisodin Marathon, Unified News.